So let's see what else there is. Okay, from Space Tomato, Star Citizen 4.1.1 is for the solo players. Okay, I don't know, but let's see.
Is Star Citizen being built for solo players or just for big orgs and fleet battles?
Yes.
Honestly, that's the wrong question. The answer is simple. Yes. All
Yes, sir. You're not gonna hate me. Yes.
Now that's funny. Now that's funny.
of them. The more important question, what matters more, is how well CIG can bring the vision they have to life.
It's always been that. It's always been execution from day one. And yes, the execution's kind of all over the map.
Today we're going to look at Star Citizen's next update, 4.1.1, as well as some recent additions, and we're going to explore how Star Citizen is being built actually for solo players, group players.
Last night we talked about the wildlife and the fauna.
And we're going to explore how Star Citizen is
talked about how annoying it can be to the fauna pops up on the radar as it does, and we talked about perhaps new equipment that would track the fauna only. Or perhaps weaponry or a ship that was dedicated as a hunting ship. So we're talking about kind of new ideas because, frankly, the way all the fauna pops up and all the grazers and the birds and very rarely the copian do, it annoys me. It's not how I pictured random generation of wildlife in Star Citizen. I don't like the way that the current setup is. And I think that they should dedicate gameplay towards this with ships and weaponry and equipment that would let you scan it so that it kind of takes that out of the experience of it popping up on the radar. Like animals popping up on radar, like that doesn't make sense. Animals popping up on infrared makes a lot of sense. So again, very similar to how when I was talking about your hangars need to be your domicile, your home, and they need to be labeled your hangar. And I pounded the table on that for months, if not a full year. And then they did that. And now you have like a hangar that you can create, you have persistence, you can decorate it, make it your own and make it your home in the same manner that they listened to me on that kind of game design. I would like them to do with this. Because frankly, I don't think it makes sense in terms of the design where the fauna is just popping up randomly everywhere. I don't like it. I don't like the way they've designed it in. So I kind of want them to separate it and make it its own loop with ships that focus on hunting, weaponry that focus on hunting, and equipment that focuses on hunting.
Actually for solo players, group players, and those like myself who are exceptionally open to both.
E-Rad.
This is going to be a talk
Peace out,
about
brother.
physical currencies, new combat missions, mining updates, and the new ships.
The mining's supposed to be really good coming up here, and we watched a great video from El Guapo last night that I should release on the channel soon.
They're pushing a little bit more for solo play. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk.
Or drones, right? Drones dedicated to it, DY would be nice.
Let's get straight to the point. In Alpha 4.1, the sandbox expanded with the new THUR locations and Wicklow, our first new mission giver in years. This offered players the chance to take part in all or just some parts of an event that takes place in caves, across compounds, throughout the star system, and in the new Wicklow Emporiums.
And again, what they did was they listened to me in terms of taking all the jank missions out. And you know, like the delivery missions, the investigation missions, all the missions that didn't work, they listened to me there. They took those out, and it created more room for them for more object containers because they're just shuffling around. I talked about this last night on Star Citizen After Dark. All they're doing is playing musical chairs right now because they can only load so much object containers because of the actual communication of those containers with the server tech that they got. So they're taking out all the missions that don't make sense, that are jank, they don't work, and they're substituting like the larger Hathor area and the mining op, and then but like we understand what they're doing, right? They're juggling this because they can only handle so much, and they're like, okay, we're going to take this out, we're going to put this in, we're going to take this out, we're going to put this in. You know, like the thing is like they're limited because of server tech issues, which is why we'll continually pound the table on stability, so that you can add more to this game and not have to continually switch and play musical chairs.
Home of the first alien in Star Citizen. Players were excited for what felt like fresh content.
And again, I'm going to stop the video again because Mad Style is saying, I could be wrong. Did Sig mention that animals will have migration patterns at some point and not just pop up? And yes, they did. And frankly, from what I'm seeing, the pathing is not the greatest with the animals. Okay. I don't particularly like the interactions when you're down on the ground with them. They could do a lot better job with that. And they're going to have the same problems that they're having with these animals that they do with the NPC and the AI interactions, which are really right now not the greatest. So they got a long way to go to get to that point. And frankly, like them randomly popping up on the radar right now is just not a good. It's not good. You know. I'm glad they're there, but the random generation of them is real jank, and they need to do a lot better. I'm glad it's there. I'm glad they've added them. But again, more object containers, right? More server latency because of additional object containers. So like that's the thing. The communication, it's lagging the system. So they've got to take something out to put something in, right? And it's just like it's again, stability. Server tech. I will continually pound the table on this year.
A little exploration and a lot of opportunities for new gameplay and rewards. But players also felt like it was very focused on groups, and while solos and duos had plenty part to play across collection contracts and completing parts of the sequence of events to fire the new orbital lasers that barely work, it wasn't always straightforward distributing the uncovered resources, leading to negotiations by force. Now, this isn't how the scenario is meant to play out. Reputation is kinda standing still right now. Security is nowhere to be seen. We don't even have player bounties, and VoIP only shows up.
I'm having the hardest time trying to find Copian anywhere, and Java's like, we've encountered them on landing pads and outposts. Hilarious because we couldn't defend ourselves. They're coming right to Java. I'm looking all over. I'm looking all over. I'm going around. I'm scanning. I'm looking for Copian everywhere. I'm spending half an hour to 40 minutes looking for some goddamn Copian. And Java's just like landed down and they're like coming right up to her. And they're like, here I am, Java. Here I am.
Up to work on the least important days. But all that is besides the point. 4.1 looked to push Star Citizen's agenda of a sandbox in which players brush shoulders and potentially play together, but can ultimately choose to participate in a solo playstyle. This solo playstyle, of course, might call for a little playing outside of your comfort zone, but your experience is still mostly dependent on you. Because as much as people like to say, CIG does recognize that players need to be able to play on their own. It just doesn't necessarily mean we can do everything on our own. But that brings us to 4.1.1, the next update coming out at the end of the month. As per the recent sneak peek, a new form of currency is coming to the game, Scrips. This is the first physical currency ever introduced to Star Citizen. The design is a bit on the nose.
This is the way.
And keep in mind, at the time of writing, information on this mechanic is still a bit sparse. But from what we know, the mechanic is sound, and something I've wondered a long time if we were going to see. I always thought it might happen for UEC, seeing as there are ATMs and other machines around the game that look like they accept some form of physical currency, maybe offering us chips that you could find while exploring and looting, that'll net you some extra money if you can find some way to safely physically redeem it somewhere. It acts as an idyllic piece of loot in folks' backpacks. It's something you can always trade to other players in a crunch, or barter with for other supplies, or leave as a liability in a pinch when you need to borrow something. These currencies could act as a commodity in trade missions, something more risky that you can transport through dangerous space, tempting partial robberies rather than people who want to steal everything. They could be useful in seedier parts of the universe, where as far as lore is concerned, UEC is not a functional thing to use. and they could be used where faction members, mission givers, and just about any NPC.
I'm not sure I'm down with this idea. Like, if you use them as gold bars to hold type of value, okay, but like if you're using it to like pump into machines, I'm not quite sure I'm down with this idea. Like, we need a basic crafting system that will be implemented, by the way, so I understand that's coming down the pipe, but we need to like lay the foundations of a very basic economy first, not just fetch quest missions from point A to point B, right? Which is kind of what we've got right now. And, you know, them plugging in values into a fucking Excel spreadsheet. Like, you know, like we need like an actual functioning human player driven and properly represented NPC AI economy that does the same thing as humans do. You know, like an integrated human and AI basic functioning economy. Like we need another level built on top of the existing level, which is basic bare bones right now. To insert like this new idea of like scripts, we don't know how they're going to be used. They might be like, I don't know, if they're like fucking Pez and you're popping them into like machines, I'm not quite sure that's the best use of a game mechanic, you know? Yeah, like I'm not quite sure that's going to work. Plus, you're going to create additional object containers, even though they're small, but you're going to create like additional object containers, and you're going to have to worry about it because it's a currency, so it's got value, and people are going to want it. So people are going to go after it as much as possible. I don't know how they're going to introduce them. I don't know if there's going to be a limited supply being put onto the market with these things. It's all kind of like, it's all noise to me. To me, the actual thing that needs to happen first is just laying a basic foundation of supply and demand. But okay. All right.
You run into can simply say, hey, here's your unique reward for doing me that favor. This is how solo players are being brought back into the mix after 4.1, and how CIG is continuing to try and allow all content to be available to all players, even if the way you have to experience it as a solo player is a bit different. In Alpha 4.1.1, both the Mercenary Guild and the Council, explained at CitizenCon and earlier this week on one of our other channels, Space Tomato 2, will be adding physical currencies to their network in order to offer players another method of progression. How do these relate to 4.1? Well, Wicklow accepts them as payments for his favors, the same favors you could choose to go through the more group-focused activities we've seen to earn. This is that agenda Star Citizen has, to try and offer alternative forms of progression through doing different things to reach the same goal. It's the same as the small-scale miner who can get the very valuable goods to turn in for a hefty paycheck, equal to the large-scale operation put on by an org that just turned in several hundred SCU of iron. How you want to reach that end goal is up to you, but it's not going to be the same level of ease for everybody. And it's tricky. Players love a meta, and Star Citizen always runs the risk that whichever way ends up being the easiest to get whatever reward is being sought out at that time, that's just what everyone's going to choose from word of mouth. And that's why the various forms of gameplay are going to all need to be somewhat equal parts rewarding, fun, and interesting according to their risk and playstyle. And it's also why not every piece of gameplay is going to be the same level of attractiveness to you. They need to make sure that each game loop is enticing enough to the people who like that game loop that they're going to stick with it.
Yeah, like the mining's very involved. The salvaging's nice as well. Being able to salvage a ship's really cool. I've been doing a lot of that recently. Again, the problem comes down to stability and server-based issues, especially like in my instance, for an example, was salvaging a ship the other night. Everything instanced out, and then I got charged with a criminal activity because everything bugged out. Then I couldn't strip the ship properly. Then I couldn't even target the ship. Like it became like a buggy experience. Now that doesn't always happen, but it definitely throws you out of the immersion of it. And what is the problem? It's not the game loop or the design of the game loop. That's fine. It's not the mechanics of it. That's fine. The problem is the communication, the server tech. And everything gets instanced out. And then you're just left out of the loop and everything breaks down and your immersion gets thrown out. And again, I'm going to say this so much at the detriment of my own channel because people just get upset that I continually pound this into Cloud Imperium's brain pan is stability. I want to see more from Benoit. I want them to talk more transparently about the issues that they're having, what the roadblocks are, and the probability of server tech and when it's going to come out, like an approximate ETA of a functioning server mesh. That is what they told us in December, January, was they were shifting into that gear, that they were going to get back to first principles. I want to talk more about this with them. Oh, hey, what's up, Money? Welcome. Thank you for the follow, bro. Thank you. Welcome.
This isn't just a Wicklow thing. Physical currencies are not new in MMOs, and having them sit alongside faction reputation is not new either. But it can cause problems. Reputation needs to always remain a longer-term, harder-to-change barometer of your standings with factions and guilds, and a gate on what you can get from them. The scripts should always remain strictly the currency.
Yeah, and still a lot of people, like I haven't seen Backspaced, our friend here, forever since Master Modes. You know, Backspace is an awesome dude. I haven't seen Backspaced here for quite a while. And he got pissed off when Master Modes went. And, you know, it's like, man, you know, there's some things they're doing that are not making people happy lately.
Being able to overcome that reputation. The rep gets you in the door, but the scripts are going to let you choose what on the shelves you want to buy. This would help keep thieves from being able to just get whatever they want by being able to steal scripts and buy anything from a faction store. Again, not a new concept, but an important balance. Beyond Wicklow, this allows for easier gating of rewards and content, and less reliance on the reward for a good time than the journey. If players can take on whatever raid they want for a faction and get unique currency that can then be redeemed at that faction's storefronts, it means a player doesn't need to choose a certain raid based on whatever the reward for that specific raid is. This could free players up in choice and make the reward structure of the game feel a little less RNG. The scale of this implementation of physical currencies into the game is still unknown. This is really early information. I don't even know if this was discussed in the past. Data has always been touted as being a physical commodity that would live on cartridges or chips and need to be traded across jump gates and around systems, but not currency as far as I know. That said, I don't think this was a reaction to 4.1, but I also think this is a newer development and progression in the deeper faction system that they've been developing over the last year or two. I can see a lot of possible benefits from this, but there are also a lot of ways this could go wrong. The interaction and inventory both need to be immensely improved for this and other functionality sooner than later in the game. So stay tuned here if you want to know whenever the inventory is getting an update, and as this feature continues development and starts to be implemented across the game, we'll keep track of how it fits and everything around it.
Okay.
Before we wrap things up, there is more to the additions of solo-focused gameplay littered throughout 4.1.1 and previous updates. The new PvE-focused flight school missions and just general combat missions coming in this same update are a perfect example. They're tailor-made for solo players to earn some skills, get some regular practice in, make some money, and possibly earn some rep engaging with the game's systems at their own pace. No org needed, no group coordination required for the first 6 out of 8 steps at least, and you have a wide variety of combat missions to choose from throughout both the Stanton and Pyro systems now. Each contract is a simple scenario with next to no handholding, but very incremental challenges, coupled with the new patrol and ambush missions, which give a slightly more variable and narrative PvE ship combat experience to solo players and small groups. This should make for some more combat entertainment for players. Then you've got the mining buffs that came in 4.1. Higher value minerals aimed at smaller scale operations, making it more viable for solo players to profit without needing a mole and a crew or even a ship. This gives players at the lower end of the economic ladder something more valuable to look for. This won't be felt fully till crafting makes things matter more, but
man, I can't wait for crafting. I think that's going to add a whole cool layer to this. And homesteads. Like I cannot wait till we have like a location that we can call our own. Land rights. It's going to really change the way you play the game. And the introduction of it, I think, will bring a lot of people back that have left. I think an MMO that is a successful MMO has a very strong backbone with industrial economic gameplay, crafting. If you got that down, I think that is an instant recipe for success. They really have to nail it.
The groundwork is there for the solo miners. Mercenary missions in both Pyro and Stanton have also...
I know there are a lot of PvPers and action people in this community, and I am definitely one of those people that love explosions and exploring and fun. There's another side of me that loves to trade and the thrill of finding and tapping new markets and increasing profit margins and growing an organization to epic proportions and having the financial fortitude to build giant fleets and amass people for great times and great fun, and to bring more of that into the organization and build it up. It's a really great experience. It's a fun time. I did it in the EVE Online religiously. It was like one of my favorite things to do, is to organize fleets and put people together that I knew could interact well together, and then compose the fleets and go out there. And, it was really a good time. All the successes and the defeats, every time we did something, we learned something from it. And the growth that we had and the fun that we had just from the MMO and the sandbox experience was like no other. And EVE, I look forward to the day where we have the stability in Star Citizen to do that. But you always need in an MMO that will bring people back over and over again as a very strong industrial gamer base. If the industrial gamer base is pleased, then you have the strong backbone in which everything else can thrive on top of. It's the very base layer of a game in an MMO that you want to be as successful as possible. Is you have to make the industrial, the crafting, the mining, the trading. You have to give these people a reason to do it. So you have to make the game loop immersive. You have to make sure that the mechanics are entertaining, that keep people focused, and they keep grinding. And if you can do that and give them that purpose, and they can accrue their value, and they become more every day, and they keep bringing in assets, and they keep piling it up, and they have a good time at doing it, that is the base layer foundation on which everything is built in an MMO. If you can do that, then you have an explosive title. You have a gamer base that can build on it. And I think it is the number one essential ingredient to a successful MMO, is that you have an economy that actually means something, that isn't just fetch quest oriented, that you can build shit with the stuff that you mine and refine and make in the game. You have an amazing crafting system to where people who want to put that kind of time in can build amazing things. And that you have people that can organize and that can put together an organization of people that can do all these things. You'll have organizations that focus on a niche, like pirating or bounty hunting or protection services. You're going to have like your niche markets, but then the large organizations have to take everything and find a way to make it functional. And again, it always comes down to having the finances to do something. When you need to create a large organization, you got to have the in-game finances to build it. And to do that, you've got to have all the parts and pieces together and all the people cooperating and having a good time. That's what I like to do. And I think I would like to say I'm very good at that. And that gives me a lot of fun. So that kind of gameplay, a lot of people think's boring and tedious and like, oh my God, DG. Occasionally, I've been asked in EVE Online, like, hey, dude, are you coming out to fly with us? Are you coming out for the danger? And sometimes I'm like, I'm way too busy. I got like 1,000 people I got to organize. And people go, well, Jesus, man, like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I like that. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm good at it. Like, a lot of people that are like leaders in an organization, a lot of their time is downtime trying to fit people together in the activities that they like to do, and to give them assignments so that the organization could be very much a living, breathing entity and successful. And I like to see the growth of a community. It's no wonder It's what I like to do here on DG360. I like to take the time to have fun with you guys and to grow a community together. It's the same thing I like to do in the game. So as successful as I am on the internet as a content creator, as somebody that creates a community, as successful as I am in a game, creating community of people that like to do things. And my biggest flaw is I don't get as involved as people want. Like sometimes I don't go on all the missions. Sometimes I don't fly on all the PvP events, and people get pissed off and say, well, this guy, he doesn't know what he's doing because he doesn't get involved with us a lot. Well, I've done all these things. You know what I mean? Like I've done them because I need to know the mechanics behind them. And in order to know each game loop in the game, I have to try them out for myself and do them till I feel like I get the idea of it. And if something changes, I got to go back in and I got to do it again because I got to know the process of it so that I know when somebody's reporting to me about mining, I'm like, what mining lasers are you using? Right? What are you mining? Right? The fun part of the game is going to be coming about like, why are you mining it? Are you mining it because you need a particular material to build something? Like the crafting is going to bring a whole nother layer to this. And this kind of talk bores people. To me, fucking nerdgasm. To me, so fun. There's a certain type of mental illness you got to have to do this. You need people like me to have successful organizations to have your fun.
To become more fleshed out. You can now grind reps solo across 2 entire systems for the same faction across a variety of backdrops, difficulties, and earn rates. Choosing between bounties or general combat missions in ship or by FPS or by FPS on ship. You feel like,
and this is great because what I see in the chat is great. Like Rev says, I like combat, trading, and gathering resources, but I don't know about crafting. So, you know, for Rev, I get him involved in like security. I get him involved with like security details for trading. I get him involved with trading. I get him involved with hunter gathering type shit because that's what he likes. So I develop a team with Rev that like to do what he likes to do. And then with Keck says, I like Excel sheets. Excel sheets excite me. So you get him involved with trading, right? So you find people that have similar likes and you put them together to make teams. And a lot of people don't get that. Like a lot of people just go, okay, well, we're going to put Rev and Keck together. No, that's like putting oil and water together. If Rev and Keck got together on a team, I wouldn't get any production out of them. They wouldn't be good for the organization together to be on a team. Right. So you got to know the people, you got to know what they like to do, and you got to pair them with other people that like to do the activities that they like to do. That's how you become successful. So it's like one of the largest alliances. I was one of the dudes that was kind of like a mini boss of a large alliance in EVE Online, and I dealt with thousands of people, man. Right. Maddie says, this is just a job. Right. It was, but it was a fun job. She's absolutely right. She's absolutely, this is the type of mental, and this is why I said, this is the type of mental illness that you have to do what I do in a game. You got to be like going at this like it's a job, because it absolutely is a job, but I have a blast doing it. Right. It's logistics, right? You're focusing on logistics, like being the CEO of an MMO organization or guild. You've got to be like a logistical whiz. You got to focus on the logistics of everything. You got to pair the right people with what it is that they like to do in the game. And when you find somebody like me that can organize people and grow a fucking community out of it, and give you tasks to do and be like, okay, these are the things that we need to do for the organization. Because a lot of people don't know. Like a lot of people in a guild or an organization don't know exactly. They're just logging in. You're like, okay. But if you give them like a quest, if you're a quest giver, right, and it's a player-driven quest for a player-driven organization, and you become more successful and you grow and you have more people because of it, then you know what? You better kiss your leader's ass and be like, wow, dude, awesome. Thank you. Because that's the fun part of being involved in player-driven shit in an MMO, is when you got a guy who can do this type of stuff and is crazy enough like me.
Like you're making progress. You can get some good money. There's a wide range of locations you could participate at, and there's plenty of loot.
It
can get a bit repetitive, but there's a lot of gameplay for solo combat-focused players. And let's not forget the ship roster itself. CIG has clearly prioritized keeping the percentage of unreleased small ships low, as we covered on Space Tomato 2 earlier this week, ensuring that players who prefer solo experiences always have viable, fun, and modern tools to play with. Well, some of them are modern. We need more updates on these. The Guardian, Golem, Geo, Atlas, and Fortune all show a focus on fleshing out small-scale gameplay for each of their own professions, and I have no doubt that trend is going to continue throughout this year. All of this ties into a broader design philosophy, that agenda I mentioned. Star Citizen isn't trying to force you into isolation, and it's not trying to shove you into an org either. What they seem to want is that feeling of brushing past other players, coexisting in a shared space without the pressure to constantly group up. A world where your actions can ripple outward even if you're playing alone. Obviously, this doesn't work until security and reputation are solid in-game, but this is the design that they're working with. There will be plenty of content for you in a solo player situation, but not everything is going to be made for you.
It's like at CitizenCon when they showed this whole chart about the synergy between PvE and PvP and economy, missions. Like they understood the whole template to make a successful MMO. So it's encouraging because on the last CitizenCon, they showed these synergies between why it's important to have a PvE base, why it's important to have a PvP base, and keep both parties like interested and excited, and how important each person, depending upon their game style, is to one another. Because you always have like a PvE versus a PvP argument on the internet communities that you see out there. It always kind of degrades down to a PvE and PvP argument, and it, like that to me is just rather ridiculous because both people need each other in an MMO in order for the MMO to thrive and be successful. What's up, Ender? How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. All right.
The problem that we're running into here, why people don't know that the game is meant to support solo gameplay? Communication. A lot of this solo support is there or coming along, but it's kind of buried, untelegraphed, and untold to players. They don't always know what content is supposed to be solo friendly, when it might be coming, or what CIG's definition of solo friendly even is. As a player jumping into Star Citizen who has no idea what's going on, opening up that contracts list on your mobiGlass and trying to figure out what you should take on first can kind of be confusing when Star Citizen hasn't explained to you how it's going to tell you these things. And that's the case for everything in this game. And from that to the ISC episodes, to the trailers, to even the patch notes, that's where the disconnect kind of happens. The frustration.
It was the same way in EVE Online, but people learned it because it was engaging and entertaining. The learning curve is giant loop. Like the learning curve is huge, and it should be. Like they shouldn't dumb this down to the point where like this is the problem that I'm seeing with the Star Citizen lately. Yes, they need a better introduction into Star Citizen. They're trying to do it with training missions. I haven't tried the new training missions yet. You know, I like how they separated the welcome panel to accommodate different play styles, and it's nice to see the introduction of the training missions. They still haven't done it to the point where I'm happy about it. What's up, Instigator? This is how I sound right now. I get it. We're changing that alert. This alert bugs me. Thank you. 41 months like a mouse.
Yes, sir. Can I get an amen? Yes.
Thank you, Instigator, for the love and support, man. Appreciate you. 41 months, man. That's insanity. That's almost 4 years. I love you, bro. So they do need to do a better job at kind of like making people more immersed from the get-go when they start, but I don't want them to water it down and make it so dumb that like anybody and everybody can come in here and be like, that's kind of the problem that I see lately with what they're happening with tier 0, you know, item duplication shit. And, you know, I get why they're doing it because, again, server tech, I can talk to I'm blue in the face about server tech issues and how they need to focus on that in order to give us more stable gameplay and to reverse some of these things that they've done in terms of some of the game design elements they're putting in this year, which are kind of watering things down a little bit.
Come on.
There you go, Rev.
With a common denominator.
David.
And isn't always about the design of Star Citizen. It's about the signal that tells how it's supposed to work. Because when the game doesn't tell you clearly what you can do on your own, it's easy to assume it's not built for you to do so. And Star Citizen's development and the fact that we're experiencing it all 1 week at a time means these things are very easy to miss or assume that they aren't coming. when they very well could be in the next update. But from where I'm sitting, Star Citizen is quietly becoming a game that does support a wide range of playstyles, solo, grouped, in an org, or as a roamer. The whole game won't be made for any one player.
Make Rev a VIP.
This is one that's actually
He's
made
done a
so
lot
that
for
you
this
don't
channel.
want to take part in certain parts of it. It's one that hopes that
And why
you'll
is
allow other
Instigator not
players
either?
or
Make
even
him-
other
make him more
NPCs
slow.
to take those jobs for you, providing them with more content and allowing you to pay more attention to the content you like. And it's a game that some content just won't be for you, whether you're PvE, PvP, group, or solo player. Everything is meant to be a little bit freeform. Whether you're hauling minerals in a prospector, running missions for the Merc Guild, or dodging bounty hunters in Pyro with a bag of scripts, there should be a place for you. Let me know what your experience
little
has been,
diamond
though.
next to your name,
Do
that's
you
what that
feel like the
means.
game has been supporting your solo journey, or are there still systems locking you out? Thank you for watching this one up until the end. I
So
hope you
does
learned
Instigator
something
now.
new, and I'll catch you in the next.
I like Space Tomato, the music. I like the music Space Tomato puts in there. I really do.